Okay, so while I was editing this, I realized this video goes nowhere and has no point to it. So instead of watching it, you should probably like do your taxes for 17 minutes or like go get some McDonald's or something. Do something more productive than watching this.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh man. Sonic Riders.
Believe it or not, I haven't actually played every Sonic game. I've been through most of the important ones, but I didn't have that many of them growing up, and I only got to some of the big ones like Unleashed and Black Knight in the last couple of years. I also recently played Shadow the Hedgehog and Sonic 06, and I'm not better off for it. I didn't have the original Sonic Riders growing up, but I did have Sonic Riders Zero Gravity. Sonic Riders Zero Gravity is like Sonic Riders, but worse. I only later found out that Sonic Riders Zero Gravity is the one that people apparently don't like very much. Apparently they removed a lot of the fun stuff from Riders and put in a lot of mechanics people don't like a lot.
Now, if there's no gravity, then how can they hoverboard?
But when I was a kid, I thought it was pretty cool because the opening cutscene looks really shiny. The only other thing I remember is the fact that I had no idea what to do at any point, and I didn't know how to play the game, and I saw the opening cutscene a lot because I never got past the first stage. But the other day I got curious what the original Riders was like, and apparently people like it. So I downloaded it, and I do too. Okay, back it up. What is Sonic Riders? Sonic Riders is a skating racing game, which isn't really something you see done very much. It's not a kart racer like Mario Kart and like what Sonic does now. It's not just a skating game like Tony Hawk where you skate around a little rink and you do tricks and stuff. It's a combination of both, I guess. It's not really Mario Kart and it's not really Tony Hawk. It's kind of a fusion of both. In Sonic Riders, you race by using extreme gear, which are your little hover machines. There are three different types of. You got your hoverboards, which I think are called air gear or something. You got your little hover bikes, I don't care what they're called. And you got your skate type gear. So I thought it would be appropriate if I rotate my skates. I've been trying to learn to do T-stops recently, and the thing with T-stops is that when you drag your foot across the ground, you wear out the inside edge of your wheel, and then your skates get all fucked. So you have to rotate them so you're not skating on wheels that are fucked. So I thought I'd repair my extreme gear, as Sonic Riders likes to call it, while I ramble about what the fuck is the game I'm talking about? Sonic Riders, that's what it's called. The first thing you realize when you start playing Sonic Riders is you have no idea what you're doing. You might figure out how to go forward, you might figure out how to drift, but you're not going to figure out what the air meter on the bottom right of your screen is. You're not going to figure out how to go over ramps, and you're probably not going to figure out how to grind on rails. This is easily the biggest weakness with the game. You have to watch a 20-minute YouTube tutorial to figure out what the hell you're supposed to do, but after you get over that hump, it's pretty fun. Unfortunately, I think this was enough for most people to just stop playing because it's not fun when you don't know what you're meant to do, and I can't blame anyone for that. Sega really fucked up there. If you mess around with the game for a while, you might figure out a few things like hold down the jump button to go over a ramp when you do tricks. That makes sense. You might figure out that, oh, I gotta keep my air meter up or else I'll stop using my extreme gear. And I get my air meter filled by doing tricks and stuff. You're probably not going to figure out other things though, like the fact that you have to hold forward to go over some ramps to go up the high pass, and you have to hold back to get on the other ones. It doesn't tell you any of that stuff. It doesn't explain why there's random wind tunnels appearing all over the stage, but that's actually a pretty cool mechanic. See, the thing that always bugs me about Mario Kart is you kind of max out skill-wise pretty early. I remember when Mario Kart 8 on Switch came out, and after you realize, oh, you just drift around every corner, you just kind of win every single race. So there's not much really to go from there, and you get bored of it pretty quickly. And once you're in first place, unless you get hit by a blue shell, you're pretty much just going to stay there the whole game. What Riders does, on the other hand, is... This is not tight enough. What Riders does is it introduces something called turbulence, which means that you create a little tunnel of wind behind you, and other players can ride it, and it makes them go super fast, and they can overtake you. So even if you're in first place, it gives everyone else kind of an advantage for the constant back and forth struggle, rather than one person just putting heaps of distance over everyone else and dominating the match if they got off first. This means that races have an actual back and forth to them, and so it's not just one person getting in first straight away and staying there the entire time. You have to struggle to maintain it, and people are probably going to overtake you at some point.
That desert wind is the most illogical, irritating, ignominious inconvenience.
The other things I like about Riders, it's just really fun to control. The drift is really, really satisfying to use. It's a bit of a learning curve to learn how to do it. You don't just have a lot of handling like you do in Mario Kart. You actually have to... I'm doing this up the wrong way. I should not talk while I do this. Oh no, it'll be a fun set piece for the video, because get it? It's like the thing from the game. Fast pace, that's another thing I like about Riders. You're constantly moving, you're constantly having something thrown at you. There's a bunch of little ramps and obstacles you have to react to really quickly, like you'll be going super fast and oh, there's a rail, I gotta jump onto it. It kind of replicates the actual traditional Sonic gameplay in a racing game, which is really cool. It's a whole new style of control, but you're still doing that sort of thing where you're constantly reacting to stuff, sort of like Sonic Unleashed or Generations, but there's also a little bit more free control and it's not platforming. Yeah, it feels like Generations. It feels like Unleashed before they came out with Unleashed, which is weird. There's a little story in this game too. It's fine, it's cute, it's not particularly noteworthy, but the Babylon Rogues are pretty fun characters and the story is pretty harmless.
The story is beyond illogical.
It's very cartoony, which I kind of like for an extremely low stakes, who gives a shit spin-off game like this. There's all sorts of like Looney Tunes style animation. Sonic's eyes spin around in his head. People have giant anime heads when they're angry. It's not really something you see in any of the other games. It's really cool that they experimented like this. This is a rumor I've heard about some of the early Sonic games, and I don't know if it's true, but given what I've heard, I would believe it. Apparently a lot of the time the voice direction was just people, developers maybe, who didn't speak English very well, just sort of handing a script of a bunch of voice lines to voice actors and being like, here, read these out. Every single line delivery sounds like it's completely context-free. I doubt the voice actors were given any like storyboards or even like a proper script of the scene. I think they were just handed like 200 voice lines and being told like, here, say all of these. It's like, can I have some context? No, just go away, read it.
That's quite funny, actually. I never imagined that we Babylonians could be descendants of real genies.
If this was like a more serious story, I would maybe care, but it's just funny. It's funny that the voice lines sound really bad. This is still very early Jason Griffith, where the voice itself is okay, but the acting is terrible, and it's probably not his fault. Like, clearly he wasn't given any scene direction or anything for this game. Anyway, the real reason that Sonic Riders is relevant again isn't anything to do with gameplay or story. It's got to do with the same reason that people are once again buying low-waisted crotch-revealing jeans, which is 2000s revival. Riders is very much a product of its time. From the late 90s to the mid-2000s, being a skater was pretty cool, and so naturally, you know, they made a skating racing game. Sonic has kind of always been chasing trends, and this is a pretty fitting one to chase. Sonic's got this, like, punk, alternative attitude he tries to give off. He's not real. The brand has a punk, alternative attitude they were trying to give off, and skating fits pretty well into that. So they did Sonic Drift before, nobody liked that. They did Sonic R, and I don't think people liked that at the time. So it's like, what were they going to do? Obviously, you're not going to do Mario Kart. You're not going to put Sonic in a little cart. It's not cool. It looks stupid. It's funny, but it's not Sonic funny. It's very goofy funny. It's a very natural fit for Sonic. I mean, like a lot of the stuff you can see is inspired by skate culture already. The rail grinding in SA2 comes from rail grinding from skating and soap shoes. And Shadow the Hedgehog himself was inspired by rollerblades. The whole game is really oozing this 2000s charm as well. They put all these like unnecessary cosmetics on all the characters. Amy's wearing these like flare track pants. Sonic has these futuristic sunnies on him for some reason. Tails has them too, I think. Knuckles has some shit on. There's this beautiful anime opening cutscene. The musical has a strong techno sound to it, and the UI and menus all look like something you'd install on like your jailbroken iPod Touch that you had at the time. And to be honest, I think this whole aesthetic is also part of the reason why the Sonic like kart racing games never really stuck with me. But with Mario, it makes sense. You know, Mario is a very safe, friendly, sort of silly, cartoony brand, whereas Sonic usually tries to have more of an edge to it, and just copying what Mario did, it didn't really work in this instance. Mario Kart is like a game that people play with their grandma. I'm not going to play a Sonic racing game with my grandma. I don't think with the Sonic racing games they ever really found a specific art style or aesthetic to land on. It was just kind of the sort of stock renders of everyone in pretty generic looking cars and pretty boring looking, sometimes Sonic themed environments. The thing with the kart racing genre is you're not going to compete with Mario Kart. You're not. Everyone likes Mario Kart. Everyone, whether they like video games or not, they like Mario Kart, they've played Mario Kart. Next to Wii Sports, Mario Kart is like the one game that everyone has played and everyone probably likes to some degree. So for Sega to think they're going to compete with that, with, let's be honest, a B-tier IP, it's ridiculous. Now, in the racing genre as a whole, you might be able to compete somewhere, but you're not a serious racing game. You're not competing with like Forza or, I don't know the racing games. Gran Turismo, is that one? But kart racing genre specifically, it's done. Like, has anybody else got up the Crash game 30 years ago when Crash was a big deal and also people who only had PlayStation couldn't play Mario Kart? There's Garfield Kart, is that one? Mario Kart is a fun little game, but no one's ever like, God, I wish there was more Mario Kart in the world. People who like Mario Kart, they get enough Mario Kart out of Mario Kart. Have you played Mario Kart 8? I played it last night. It has like 100 tracks in the game. There's enough there. Very few people are ever going to be like, oh, I've played 1,000 hours of Mario Kart already. I just wish there was more. Product differentiation. It's a pretty basic principle of advertising, and where I'm going with this is that my idea, my earnest idea that I think Sega should actually do is a Sonic Riders remake. I mean, I don't think they should do it. I don't think they should do any of this. I think they should give up the kart racing, find a new genre, maybe make a fighting game. You guys seen the Fighter Z Sonic mod? That looks pretty cool. I would probably play that. But if you want to do racing, which I guess, you know, Sonic racing, it makes sense kind of that you want to do that. If you want to do racing, don't do this. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Wet Butt Awards. You can't see it, but there's grass underneath me, and it is not dry. Okay, why am I here? I'm going to explain why I think that they should do a remake. After Unleashed, the brand pivoted hard away from the 2000s era, and they replaced it with all this 90s nostalgia imagery. That's why you see Green Hill and Chemical Plant in every game. That's why Sonic has shorter spines now. That's why he's a different shade of blue. That's why he says things like, let's do it to it. And that's all still very effective. There's a lot of, like, Gen X's, you know, who play that stuff, and they love going to Zing and buying like the little candy you can get that's shaped like a ring or something stupid like that. They sell a lot of that crap, but there's a new audience that doesn't have that. A lot of the people buying these games now, they did not grow up with Sonic 1, 2, and 3 on the Genesis. They grew up with Adventure 2. Actually, a lot of them probably grew up with 06 or Unleashed at this point. And a little secret about people who weren't born in the 90s, they don't have much nostalgia for the 90s. They do have nostalgia for the 2000s. I don't know if you've been outside lately, but 2020s are the decade of 2000 revival, and a lot of studios like Sega are pretty late to catch on to this trend. You can see endless content on YouTube and Instagram of people discussing footage era, or why the Wii looked so cool, or all these aesthetics from their childhood that they want to relive. Riders is extremely a 2000s to its core, and they could absolutely lean into that and create a really viral, strong marketing campaign. I don't think I'm like a brand person now, but that's what Sonic is. It's a brand tool. Nobody gives a shit about the games. If you tried to pull off a viral marketing campaign where you like made a bunch of 2000s core edits and you played that Free Rider song over it and you did like shitty blur VHS effects over the top of all the footage, I guarantee you it would sell gangbusters. Give it a funky art style, maybe like make it look like Bomb Rush Cyberpunk did. They figured it out pretty well, and just rip them off. Like, who cares? They're an indie game. They're not going to sue you. I personally would prefer a new game, but I think it should be a remake just because you got to harness that nostalgia. It'll sell more. People will buy it if they go, oh, this is that thing I had. That was pretty cool. Hey, this ad looks pretty cool. I might pick that up again. And the game only has like 5 levels in it, so you could make like a Mario Kart 8 Deluxe thing. You could patch a bunch of new levels in, make it online that actually works, make a tutorial, and then it'd be a pretty perfect game. I think people would have a lot of fun with that. And also, because it's a remake, you could price it at like 40 or 50 US dollars instead of 90 or whatever the Crossworlds one is, and you might actually compete with some of that Mario Kart market. You won't compete with it, but people who go, oh, I don't have a Switch, but I want a racing game, they might go, this looks really cool. And people who have already played Mario Kart would see it and think, this looks different enough that it's not just going to be in an inferior version of the thing I already played, so they might pick it up as well. Before I finish, I want to say that the way I played this was a little ROM hack called Sonic Riders DX. It's pretty much the base game, but they tightened up the controls a little bit. I think they played around with the menu, they added a bunch of new music, they added 3 new characters, and they're working on all original stages right now. It's really cool to see like an old game that only has like a few flaws that really hold it back, get some love like this. There's another version too, Tournament Edition. I haven't played that, but I think it adds even more characters, and it's like got online play, which I'm pretty excited to try out. And I think this for me was a good reminder about getting the most out of your games. People are very angry about game prices right now. Mario Kart World is 90 US dollars, which is like 110 Australian dollars. I'm not buying that shit. Okay, yes, inflation, everything is getting more expensive. Games have to get there at some point. Games are, inflation and purchasing power parity considered, probably cheaper than they were 20 years ago. It's not unreasonable that the prices have gone up. They stayed pegged to a few consistent pricing tiers for a very, very long time. It was never going to stay that way forever, and with the constantly inflating cost of game budgets, it was not going to stay at 60 US or whatever it was. It was just not going to sit there forever. But here's another thing. You don't have to buy Mario Kart World. You don't have to buy Sonic Crossworld. There are so many games that you probably already own, you could play for free, or you could buy very, very, very cheap that you have not played yet, and you would probably enjoy a lot more than you would 90% of the stuff that's out there that costs 90 US dollars now. I was watching Summer Games Fest the other day, and it was 2 hours of just complete trash, like FromSoft clones and fucking AI cat games. I was looking at these games, a lot of them were probably over $100, and I thought, you know what, I still never beat Chrono Trigger. Is this better than Chrono Trigger? Like, do you know what I mean? You don't have to buy a Switch too, and I guarantee you probably have some old hardware lying around that you could get a lot more use out of. Hack your consoles. Everyone on here is always talking about how, did you know it's easy to mod a 3DS? Yes, but you can really mod pretty much anything that's old. You can mod a Switch fairly easily. You can mod a Wii U. You can definitely mod a Wii. You can mod a GameCube if you've got it. Probably a PS3. I don't know. You can do a PS4 somehow. It looks pretty difficult. Become a boomer is what I'm saying. Stop spending money and become a boomer and pirate old games and play them for free. And the thing is, you're probably not going to even play them, right? 90% of games, you download them, you play it for 5 minutes and you go, yeah, I can't be arsed. But that's exactly what you would do with a new game too. The only difference is you didn't pay $90 for this one. Play Sonic Riders. It's a pretty good game.
Long live the nerd. Rest in peace, Steve Irwin. Cheerio.